Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Local news, national news, even feel-good news, delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
From time to time, I like to remind you, as I remind me, of the two goals we have for the Joe Kelley Show. When we set out to create the Joe Kelley Show, 30 or 40 years ago, it's long. Honestly, I've lost track of time. But when we set out to create the Joe Kelley Show, I said, all right, there's two goals that are important to me. Number one goal is make the show accessible to all. We're not going to carry the water for any particular party or candidate. We're going to make the topics easy to understand. We're not going to get deep into the weeds. We're going to have a very wide variety of topics, but we're not going to get too terribly deep where people aren't going to be able to understand the complexities of issues, and where Joe Kelley is not going to be able to not understand the complexities of issues. And then goal number two was to make the show unpredictable. We're not going to get caught up in recurring plot lines and rhetoric, and the topic selection is going to be wide and it's going to be varied. We're going to talk about different things every day. We're not going to beat a dead horse every day about Trump or about Biden or about this or about that. So, again, if you've listened to the show for any stretch of time, every now and again, I like to state here at the top of the show the two primary goals of the show. And I do it for you as listeners, so you know what to expect. I like to set expectations, but I also do it for me. I do it to remind myself, because sometimes I will veer off topic, and sometimes I will say, all right, I've got to sit myself down and have a talk with myself, at which I say, self, you have veered off topics of the two goals stated for this show. I like the two goals, but sometimes I get off topic and I get off of the point. So there you go. That's the two goals. Make the show accessible, make the show not predictable. With that in mind, did you know, here is the lesson portion of this show. Laurel, I'm going to pop quiz you. What was the name of Orlando before it was Orlando?
Citrus City.
That's honestly, I am very impressed. That is a very good guess. We did not rehearse this. That was a very good guess. Paul Cross, do you have any idea what the name of Orlando was before it was called Orlando?
I really don't. I don't even have a clue. I don't even have as an intelligent guess as
Laurel did.
Laurel Lee Trixie.
Trixie Lee. We learned yesterday her middle name. So the original name of the city of Orlando was Jernigan. It was the town of Jernigan up until 1857. And it's named after Aaron David Jernigan. Aaron David Jernigan was the first white settler of what is now Orange County, Florida. He was the first there. We had other settlers, but they weren't white. And he was the first white settler. He was from Camden County, Georgia. He first moved to Tallahassee before moving to Orange County in 1843. He was one of the city of Orlando's early developers. He and his wife purchased up thousands of acres on the shore of Lake Holden, and they moved some 700 head of cattle down from Tallahassee, where Jernigan and his brother Isaac continue to own land and raise cattle. So he cleared a spot.
Was that the population? Population was 700 cattle?
Yeah, it was two guys named Jernigan and 700 head of cattle. They began planting crops like corn, cotton, rice, sugarcane, pumpkins, even melons. He was a successful tradesman and a merchant. He was the captain of a local militia that patrolled against renegade Seminoles. So as I mentioned, he was the first white settler. The Seminoles were here before the Jernigans were here. But the Jernigans, they ultimately changed the name to Orlando and Orange County. And then he died in 1891. He's buried at the Lake Hill Cemetery in Orla Vista. There's a memorial plaque on his grave that honors him as Orlando's first white settler, which is interesting because Orla Vista is, for the most part, an African-American community. I mean, today it is. I don't know what it was back in the 1800s. Back in the 1800s, it was probably just a swamp. So if you ever see the name Jernigan, Marie points out in the comment section here on our chat group that there's a Jernigan Street Avenue and a Jernigan Boulevard. Yes, if you see Jernigan anywhere, spelled with a J, Jernigan, if you see Jernigan anywhere, it is named after our city founder, the man who was Orlando before Orlando was Orlando. So there you have it, your fun fact for the day. You live in the city, beautiful, the city Jernigan, the city of Orlando, previously known as Jernigan. All right, this happened just a short time ago. We're going to get to our presidential pinger coming up in just a second. But Governor DeSantis was at the airport he was at the airport where? In Sanford. So he was at the airport in Sanford talking about evacuating Floridians from Haiti. From Haiti?
Well, we can finally report that a plane carrying passengers has left Haitian airspace and is on the way here to Sanford Airport in Central Florida. This will be the first of probably many flights to bring people, U.S. citizens, Florida residents, obviously, who are in harm's way given what's going on in Haiti. And as part of the effort for this first flight, it's not just, show up at an airport and people jump on. I mean, there's people that are in parts of Haiti that are dangerous. We have personnel on the ground that are helping them get where they need to be so that they can do their exfil. And this has been something that these guys, Kevin, and he'll talk a little bit about, a Division of Emergency Management, have been working on for many days now. It's just the truth. It's sad, but it's true. It's easier to get into this country illegally through our southern border than it is for us to rescue U.S. citizens from a country that's collapsed and where they're in danger. And that's sad that the bureaucracy really turns very harshly against our own citizens. They've had to navigate a lot of bureaucratic hurdles. Finally here, we're going to have a flight that's going to be landing here later today. So I'm excited about that. We're committed to rescuing Floridians from this situation. It's a bad situation. We did it in Israel. We had a little bit more help from in terms of coordination with the Israeli government than we do right now with what's going on in Haiti. So it's a more challenging situation. But there's been people that have been doing a lot of great work in really difficult circumstances.
Now we're told this flight is gonna make it there to Orlando Sanford Airport at what time is it? 6:25? 6:25 p.m. is when that flight is going to come in, and we'll continue to monitor that story for you. The governor also had made mention of there's a lot of Haitian refugees that are now leaving Haiti, and they're trying to make their way here towards Florida, and that's going to be a no-go from the governor's perspective. He says if there are refugees that he will similarly put them on airplanes and fly them up to Martha's Vineyard, as he has done in the past with the illegal border crossers that we have seen. All right, it is time for our presidential pinger. As we've got a lot going on here today. Oh, hang on. Let me. Evidently, I didn't stop something. Let me stop something. Stopping that. Nope. Hang on. This is my first day here. I don't know if you guys know that. I just started today. I'm very excited to have this job. Presidential pinger. All right, we have secretly hidden GPS trackers on the U.S. presidential candidates. We're following their movements around the United States. The field has been thinned considerably. The Joe Kelley presidential pinger, 13 days until 5 states vote. That'll be Connecticut, Delaware, New York, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. A smattering of other states vote through early June. We're 117 days away from the Republican convention in. Anybody know where it is? The Republican convention is in
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we're 152 days away from the Democratic convention, which is in, anyone?
Not a clue.
Chicago, Illinois. We're 230 days away from the general election. The latest polling, the latest YouGov poll has Biden up by 1 point over Donald Trump, 44 to 43%. That's well within the margin of accuracy there for that. Donors who supported Nikki Haley in her Republican primary campaign are set to switch their allegiance to Joe Biden, which is a shock to absolutely no one. No one is shocked by that. Nikki Haley was always the rhino candidate there, Republican in name only, as her supporters are now going to go to Joe Biden. They're not going to go to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has already confirmed the GOP nominee for November's presidential election. That happened last week after securing enough delegates across multiple primaries. He does look to have a face-off now against incumbent Biden in a rematch of the 2020 election. Donald Trump unsurprisingly won the Florida primary after already securing his status as the presumptive nominee. But incredibly, Ron DeSantis finished a dismal third, getting fewer votes than Nikki Haley in his own backyard. I wish I had the sad trombone sound. Womp, womp, womp. That's sad.
Well, there it is. I hope you got that on recorded.
Yes.
I hope you recorded that. You can play that now.
Yes. That's just, I mean, is it wrong that I feel sorry for Ron DeSantis? I feel sorry for Ron DeSantis. I mean, Ron DeSantis was like who I was going to vote for. I had high hopes for Ron DeSantis, but man, he's just gone down in flames. What a disaster. And that Nikki Haley in fact, that Nikki Haley had 13.9% of the vote in Florida compared to DeSantis with 3.7%. Wow. Womp, 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 womp. President Trump takes the lead in two battleground states of North Carolina and Georgia, that according to two new polls. And Joe Biden, saving the best for last, Joe Biden fumbles his way through his teleprompter speech.
You know, if you build if the developer came along and built 20 homes on one side of a highway and 20 homes on the other, and the one side had people with black and brown backgrounds, and the same exact home was built in a white neighborhood, guess what? The day you bought that home, that black home was worth 20% less than the white home, or the Hispanic home was worth 20% less. You drove out to the airport and put you on Air Force One, you said you had a prescription you needed filled, and it was an American company that made it, I'd say, okay, let's fly to Toronto or to Berlin or to London or to Rome or any major city in America. I'll get you that same prescription filled in those cities for 40 to 60% less than it cost you at a pharmacy here.
Of course, none of those are major cities in America.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me go.
The Joe Kelley Presidential Pinger coming up next here on The Joe Kelley Show. All the stories that you missed while you were down deep in the coal mine today, just to put food on the table for your family. We'll have that for you coming up next on WDBO.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
I could be completely wrong about this, so please forgive me if so. But didn't Ron DeSantis drop out of the race before the early elections? So Nikki Haley is on the ballot. Ron was more of a write-in. Again, I'm not sure about that, but that is the only thing that really makes sense to me.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking that. Thanks for putting that out there. No, both of their names were on the ballot. Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and I don't even remember the guy's name anymore. The governor from, North Dakota, his name is even still on the ballot. Vivek Ramaswamy's name was still on the ballot because the ballots were printed in December, and anybody who got out after December, their name remained on the ballot, and in this case, all of their names were still on the ballot. So yeah, I wish there was a better reason why Ron DeSantis performed so poorly in Florida, but there is no good reason other than Floridians are really upset with Ron DeSantis.
I've got a question for you, Joe. This is a serious question. When Donald Trump is really the only one in the race, really the only one you can vote for that's going to mean anything, how would he feel, how does he feel, in your opinion, on 17.9% of voters voting for somebody who's not even eligible or not even on the ballot?
Right, and that is a wonderful question, Paul Cross, and we are going to get into that actually coming up in about 10 minutes.
All right.
We're going to talk about the protest votes and how while Donald Trump won Florida, it doesn't necessarily bode well for Donald Trump in Florida, because he had a weaker showing this time around than he did 4 years ago. And conventional wisdom might suggest that he would have a stronger showing this time around. But in fact, there were a lot of people who protest voted for other candidates just to send a signal that they're upset with Donald Trump. And we will get into that. We're going to kind of break apart those numbers coming up at about 5:35. So y'all be sure and stick around for that.
Just clocked out? Let's rewind. Here's what you missed while you were at work.
Yeah, check this out. Ireland's prime minister pulls a surprise, announces a surprise resignation, saying he will step down as soon as a successor can take up the office. That, again, is in Ireland. The UK hospital where the Princess of Wales was treated says there is no place for those who intentionally breached trust. This after claims that staff tried to view the medical information of the Princess of Wales. And again, for those who are confused by royal family matters, the Princess of Wales is Catherine, right? That's William's wife, Catherine. That's Prince Charles's eldest son's wife. All right. Daniel Penny, the former Marine who choked a homeless man to death last May on a New York City subway car, will stand trial beginning October 8th. A judge determined that on Wednesday. What an absolute tragedy that is, that this guy is going to stand trial for subduing this guy to the point at which he died. A judge has cleared the way for former President Trump's lawyers to appeal the decision allowing Fani Willis to remain on the Georgia 2020 election case. Is that ever going to go to trial? Do you guys think it's ever going to go to trial? Let us know right now at 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app. President Biden, as promised, requires automakers to ramp up sales of electric vehicles and hybrids, his biggest climate move yet. It is likely to face legal challenges, not to mention automobile manufacturers are ramping down production of EVs because the market is not demanding them. You cannot create demand where no demand exists. Speaker Mike Johnson says he is considering inviting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address the Congress amid rising tensions between Democrats and the Israeli government leader. 3 Idaho corrections officers are shot when a shooter broke an inmate out of a Boise hospital. The search continues for both of them. A former Rankin County Sheriff's deputy has been sentenced to more than 17 years in prison for his role in the torture of 2 black men in Jackson, Mississippi in 2023. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signs a sweeping bill into law that prohibits diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at public schools and universities. That's in Alabama. Oh, I wonder where she got that idea. Oh, yeah, Florida, Ron DeSantis. We did that first here. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, says it's investigating Amazon and other retailers for the alleged marketing and selling of unlawful electronic devices, including radio frequency jammers. In other news, radio frequency jammers are unlawful. I don't know that I knew that. I mean, I guess that stands to reason. You can't have radio frequency jammers. I bet the government has radio frequency jammers. We can't have jammers. 844-580-WDBO. Chris is in St. Cloud. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hey, good, Joe. I appreciate y'all listen to your show every day on the way home.
You're
and
the
I wanted
one.
to tell you that yes, sir, that's me. The reason that nobody in Florida voted for DeSantis is because we want to keep him as our governor.
You know, that you might be onto something there, no doubt about that. And of course, we have term limits here, so he's on his second and last term. So he's not going to be able to stay, beyond his second term. It's the same reason why Rick Scott got out and ran for the Senate. But point well made. Thank you, Chris, so much. I'm glad you're listening. Thank you for being our one listener out there. I looked down at our people meter, and it says 1, so it had to have been Chris in St. Cloud. So, Chris, thank you. Coming up next, why Donald Trump's win in Florida isn't as big as it might appear. We'll have the details coming up next.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. In-depth segments on topics that matter to Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love your show every night. You're doing great, bud.
All right, this just handed to me. As you can hear the paper, it was just... Someone just put this in my hand a moment ago.
Got to be true, then. Got to be true because you can hear the paper.
Because it's on paper. They wouldn't waste ink on it if it weren't true. Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree is raising their prices again. Dollar Tree may soon have to rename itself to Dollars Tree. The discount chain raising prices once again this year. Prices now ranging from $1.50 up to $7. The company made headlines last year when it raised the price of items from the traditional $1 to $1.25. Now it's going to be as high as $7. $7. Wow. There you go.
Maybe that store Five Below is onto something because they can have anything. They can raise their prices from $1 to $2, and it doesn't matter.
I will tell you that I am a sophisticated shopper when it comes to discount shopping. I never go to Dollar General or the dollar stores, but I will go to Five Below. I'm not going to spend $1, but I'll spend less than $5.
And I just discovered Pop Shelf. I don't know if you know that place.
No. What's that?
Oh, you have to go into there.
Is it one of those discount retailers?
Yeah, but it's very cool. I love it. That's all.
Let me just file this away. I've got a special file where I keep stories like this. Okay.
Oh, paper crinkling makes for such great radio.
Oh, doesn't it now? Oh, I will get so many hate calls for crinkling the paper.
Theater of the mind. Then you can whistle while you crumple up the paper.
Oh, people hate when I whistle, I was told. In the chat group, either my whistling is terrible or just whistling in general is bad. I'm not sure which. All right, so as we dig a little bit deeper into the Florida primary, the former president won the Florida primary. Donald Trump won with 910,857 votes, 81.2% of the overall share. Some 197,000 people, or 17.8%, voted for either Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis, despite both of those candidates dropping out of the race. So nearly 200,000 Floridians and nearly 18% voted Republicans. Voted for a candidate other than Donald Trump. Now, the results suggest that the former president is losing support in Florida compared to the previous election in 2020. That year, in 2020, he won about 94% of the state vote in the primary. So this isn't apples to oranges. This isn't primary to general. This is primary to primary. Trump won 94% of the state in the primary in 2020. He won 81% of the vote now. The Republican Trump went on to take the state in 2020 by a slim margin, 51.2% of the vote to Joe Biden's 47.9% of the vote. Now, Nikki Haley nabs more votes than Ron DeSantis in Florida, and this is certainly noteworthy. He exited the race in January. Keep in mind, by the way, for those that missed it in the last segment or two, I've lost track. Even though the only Republican that is still in the race with an active campaign is Donald Trump, there were still a half dozen other candidates on the ballot because the ballots are printed in December. So they're not going to reprint the ballots for millions of people just because someone dropped out. They're not going to do that. So if you went to the polls yesterday and you cast a vote for Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Vivek Ramaswamy or Chris Christie, I mean, it was essentially a protest vote or a wasted vote because none of them can win. Donald Trump won all 125 delegates from the Florida primary. And as of the last election day, he has already locked up the party's nomination. He already has enough delegates for the party's nomination. Ron DeSantis might be wishing his name wasn't still on the ballot, given how low the vote was for him. Nikki Haley got 13.9% of the vote in Florida compared to Ron DeSantis's 3.7%. Chris Christie got 0.8%. Vivek Ramaswamy got 0.3%. The former president performed worse in this year's Florida primary than he did in 2020. As I mentioned, taking 81.2% of the vote compared to almost 94% 4 years ago. Over 200,000 voters chose to back other candidates in yesterday's primary, while Trump's victory over Biden in Florida in 2020 came by a relatively slim margin of under 400,000 votes. So Florida has proven to be a bit of a red state, but boy, there's a splash of purple. There is still a splash of purple in Florida. And Governor DeSantis, you know, that we had the caller earlier, I believe it was Chris, who said maybe Governor DeSantis's numbers were so low because people like him as governor and they want him to stay as governor. But the problem with that is he's term limited, just like Rick Scott was. He's not going to be able to run for another term. He is in his second and last term.
I could be completely wrong about this. So.
Hang on, I already played that one.
I think one of the main reasons why DeSantis got such a poor showing is because I, as well as many other people I know, assumed Trump is the only one on the ballot, so I didn't show up to vote. I would have absolutely voted for DeSantis. We love him here. But we just assumed he's not on the ballot, so we just didn't even vote, figuring Trump is going to win anyway.
One of the things that gets my goat, one of the things that irritates me most about talk radio hosts, oh my goodness, I have a thing about talk radio hosts, but talk radio hosts who play the I told you so game. That having been said, I told y'all that Ron DeSantis was on the ballot. So if you would have been listening, I told you that Ron DeSantis was going to be on the ballot. I don't say that as some sort of, clairvoyant or anything like that, but I saw the sample ballot. You get a sample ballot in the mail. I saw the sample ballot. I opened it up and looked at it, which I never opened my mail, just like my voicemail. I never listened to my voicemail. I never open letters. I never open mail.
Hey, this is Tom Barrett from Merritt Island.
Tom.
Hey, Joe. I'm pretty sure that the vote was a little less this year because everybody knew Donald Trump was going to win. And so, a lot of people just didn't go out to vote in the primary.
Well, you certainly are right about that. You are absolutely right about that. The electors, the Department of Elections have all reported that this has been record low voter turnout. We called the race 2 weeks ago. I mean, we knew who was going to win in the state of Florida. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There was very low voter turnout.
Joe? For every person that, like the woman that just called, for every person that said, "Nah, I'm not going to go. Trump's already got it. They don't need my vote. They don't need it." You have 18% of the people that said, "I don't care whether he has it or not. I'm going to go vote for someone else."
Yeah.
And that's kind of the statement vote, I think. And I think those people will also come back around and vote whoever the Republican nominee is, which will be Trump. But I just think that they wanted to make a statement on it.
That's the protest vote. You're absolutely spot on.
I truly did not think that DeSantis or Haley would be on the ballot. I thought that basically the election for the primary is over because Trump has enough electoral votes he doesn't need anymore, and so it's a done deal. But I wanted to go out and vote to show my support for DeSantis. I really don't like the fact that Trump is our candidate, but of course I'll pick him over Biden any day.
All right, so in the immortal words of the audience of Rush Limbaugh from years ago, ditto, ditto, ditto. I was and am exactly the same. I will vote for Donald Trump in the general election, but as I have said all along, Ron DeSantis had my vote in the primary election, and I know full well. I remember when George W. Bush was up for re-election for his second term, and I was voting in Texas at the time. I lived in Texas, And I had become really disenchanted with George W. Bush following, as we got into the Gulf War and everything else like that. And I just saw him expanding government power, expanding government budgets. And I was so disenchanted with George W. Bush that you guys might appreciate this, living in Texas at the time, I wrote in Mickey Mouse on my ballot as a protest vote. But I was voting in Texas, the home of George W. Bush. There was no way George W. Bush was not going to win Texas. If I thought it was going to be close, if I had lived in a blue state, I would have voted for George W. Bush. But I knew
you know what, Joe? You're not alone because Mickey Mouse gets millions of votes every year.
I bet.
That's a write-in.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Now, this open mic here, I think this guy's onto something here, maybe.
Joe, I thought of a reason that DeSantis may have not got as many votes in Florida as Nikki Haley. Recall that he endorsed Donald Trump, and so his intent was for his votes to go to Trump, whereas Nikki Haley never endorsed Donald Trump. So her voters continue to vote for her, and maybe all of DeSantis's voters voted for Trump, or at least most of them.
Yeah, what an interesting. Yeah, look, I love when someone comes up with an original idea, someone who's not just regurgitating something that you've heard somewhere else. So thank you for that. I think you might be onto something. Perhaps there is an element of that. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. I will have what is horrifying news for Laurel Lee coming up in a few minutes. So stick around for that. It deals with robotics and robots. She is deathly afraid of robots, or creeped out by them. I'm not sure which it is. Is it creeped out? It's creeped out. Yeah, and afraid, both. All right, so I'll have some horrific robotic news for you coming up. Stay with us here. I'm Joe Kelley. You're listening to The Joe Kelley Show.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. News, weather, traffic, all the things you want on your drive home. Plus, Joe Kelley being, well, Joe Kelley. Now, The Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
All right, let's talk about computers. Can we talk about computers? No, I'm sorry, not computers, robots. Can we talk about robots for a second? Laurel, your favorite subject, robots. I know how much you love robots, particularly the humanoid robots. And you don't like the dog robots either, right?
No, why do they got to make them jump and fight and open doors? That's just ridiculous.
So I was reading an interesting story in Popular Mechanics. Ask me if I subscribe to Popular Mechanics.
You subscribe to that?
Oh, Laurel, I do. Thank you very much. Yes, I always look forward to the monthly fold-out, the centerfold in the Popular Mechanics. Under the headline, a Chinese humanoid just broke the robot speed record.
Great.
Yeah, and it reads in part, the human body, and I thought this was interesting. I don't think I ever thought about it this way. The human body isn't really an ideal template for a robot. Out of the entire family of primates, Homo sapiens are the only ones who spend a majority of their time on 2 feet, a biological outlier that isn't exactly easy to replicate in artificial form. Huh, that's interesting. So then why do we keep working on humanoid robots? In the last decade, it reads, many companies have created impressive facsimiles, robots that can run, jump, and stumble just like a real boy. But none of them had been able to generate very much speed while doing so. That's beginning to change, it says. Earlier this month, a Chinese robotic company was able to get a robot clocking a speed of 7.4 miles per hour, which, by the way, back in the day when I used to run marathon... You know, that was singular, right? You caught that? When I used to regularly run marathon, that was my pace, was about 7 miles an hour. A 7 mile an hour run is a 3 hour and 44 minute marathon. That's about how fast I was running a marathon. So that's how fast this robot would run a marathon. It would be 3 hours and 44 minutes at 7.4 miles per hour. If a robot needs to be able to run 13 miles an hour, so almost double that speed to hit the current human speed of a marathon in 2 hours and 34 seconds. That's the current human record of marathon is 2 hours and 34 seconds. We are this close, guys, from breaking the 2-hour marathon. And when I say we, I mean some people elsewhere, that's not us, are this close from breaking the 2-hour marathon. That is going to be a bigger deal than breaking the 4-minute mile, as far as I am concerned. I'm Joe Kelley. We're going to get more into the Florida election day yesterday as we pick apart the numbers and unpack it all. More details coming up next.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, from the Bogan Munz & Munz WDBO Traffic Center. Auto accident? Choose Bogan Munz & Munz.
Still have that crash in Seminole County, 434 eastbound before Terrytown Trail. The right lane is blocked. We'll have a full update for you in just a little bit. Save money at Refresh Computers, Central Florida's budget computer store. Visit refreshcomputers.net or call 407-478-8200 for the latest details. From the WDBO Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. From the jazz age to the information age, WDBO has been there. Join us in saluting a century of broadcasting excellence. Happy 100th WDBO, the soundtrack to Orlando's history.
All right, well, coming up in a few minutes here, I'm going to get some more of your comments. A lot of people wanted to comment about yesterday's primary and how Donald Trump didn't do as well as he did in 2020, and Ron DeSantis did terribly. And so we'll get some more of that coming up in a moment. First, I want to talk about the word illegal. The word illegal, as it pertains to people who are illegally in the United States. And I think back to the State of the Union address and Joe Biden when he referred to Lincoln Riley's murderer as an illegal alien. Of course, we know it's Laken Riley, and Biden got the name wrong. He was asked about it.
Do you regret using the word illegal to describe immigrants last night, sir?
Well, I don't regret it. Technically not supposed to be here.
Yeah, so he really struggled with that and using the word illegal. And there is new polling out on this, which is fascinating. New Rasmussen National Telephone and Online Survey finds that 35% of likely U.S. voters say that illegal alien is the best way to describe foreigners who come across the U.S. border in violation of our immigration laws. 27% said illegal immigrant is the best term. So the majority of people, 62%, say that the descriptor of illegal is the correct term to use. Illegal. Now, I'm going to get in my Wayback Machine just a little bit. Laurel, I don't know if you remember this discussion at all or not. But several years ago, and I have to pitch this to Laurel because you were the only person who was here when I was here. And this had to have been about, 8 years ago. It was pre-pandemic. That's how we divide time these days, right? Everything is pre and post-pandemic. So it was a couple years before the pandemic. And I was asked by our corporate owners, Cox Media Group, to be a part of a discussion group about words like illegal aliens and illegal immigrants. Do you have any recollection of that? Do you remember any part of that at all?
Vaguely.
Yeah, honestly, I vaguely remember that as well. But they flew me to Atlanta, our corporate headquarters, and they had us all sit down, and they brought into the room a variety of ethnicities, people with a variety of ethnicities, I guess is a better way to say that. And honestly, at the time when illegal immigration wasn't the disaster that it was today, I am nothing if not compassionate. And when I heard some of the arguments being made by Latino men and women, Asian men and women, African-American men and women, but we were particularly focusing on illegal aliens and that term and what is, and they invited me because I'm a news director, and as someone who has influence over our newsroom, they wanted me to be a part of the discussion about what is the proper term to use. And I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds on it, but we came out of it with an agreement that using the descriptor illegal was more harmful than it was beneficial. It carried with it a stigma that was unnecessary. And I remember at the time we all agreed upon, some variation of undocumented migrants or something along those lines. And I remember at the time, and maybe it was just Stockholm syndrome. I was being held hostage, and they're force feeding me what we're going to say. But I remember at the time thinking, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. I mean, look, there are plenty of Latino people here in our community. There are plenty of legal immigrants here in our community that are today treated terribly because the greater American society has lumped them in to the illegal immigrant category. And I think I do believe you've got to be really, really careful. Words have meanings. Words have impact. And I feel I have a lot of Latino friends. A lot. And the last thing that I want to have happen to my Latino friends is for an angry mob somewhere to shout things at them or throw things at them or curse them out or whatever, thinking that they're not here legally. Look, we all know Latino people. We all do. And so I am nothing if not compassionate. And I thought, they make a pretty good point. That anytime you say, these illegal aliens, these illegal immigrants, well, anytime anybody with brown skin then shows up, they're just as American as you and me, but they get lumped into that category because they have brown skin. And I felt that. I felt that and I understood that. But that was 7 or 8 years ago. And I am not one to stick to my guns when the target has changed. I am not one to stick with an opinion when the facts have changed. I am not committed to opinion decisions that I made 7 or 8 years ago when the situation on the ground has changed. 62% of Americans say that illegal is the correct term. And honestly, now, I don't know what other term you could use. I wholeheartedly endorse and support using the word illegal, especially after yesterday's conversation about illegal immigrants having Second Amendment rights. It needs to be emphasized to the American public that there are people who come to our country illegally now have the right to keep and bear arms by the millions of people can now buy guns, keep guns, stockpile weapons and ammo. They are here illegally. So where my heart and mind were 7 or 8 years ago when I was a part of this discussion group is not where I am today. And I'm not changing my views because it is politically expedient. I'm not changing my views to curry favor with you, our WDBO listeners. I have changed my views because the situation on the ground has changed. And never in my lifetime have I seen the problem of illegal immigration as rampant, as flagrant as it is today. So I know it's an ugly word. I know it's ugly to say that a person is illegal when it is their behaviors that are illegal. But I think it is important in today's dialogue, I think you can still show compassion. I think you can still show concern and care. I will be the first to say that I believe whether someone is an illegal immigrant or not, they should be able to get emergency health care. But that's about it. That's about where it stops. Emergency health care. Not schools, not welfare, not free housing, not free food. They should be able to get emergency health care. And that's it. We should make America an uninviting place to come for people who are not American citizens. There is a legal term called an attractive nuisance. If you build a pool in your backyard and you don't put a fence up, you have created an attractive nuisance. And if a child comes along and falls into your pool and drowns, you, as the pool owner, can be held liable because you created an attractive nuisance and you did not take proper precautions and put a fence up. Well, the United States of America is an attractive nuisance. We have made it attractive to come to the United States, and it is our own damn fault. And the first thing that we need to do, and the first thing that Donald Trump most certainly will do, is make it just a flat-out nuisance, not an attractive nuisance. Sure, finishing the border wall is going to be important, but preventing non-citizens from having access to housing, from having access to food stamps, to WIC cards, not having access to education, not having access to any social services, short of emergency healthcare services. I will never, that's that hill I will die on. Anybody in our country, for whatever reason, should have access to emergency healthcare services, period. Short of that, nothing else. Eliminate the attractive nuisance. So my opinion on whether or not people here illegally should be called illegal, either illegal aliens or illegal immigrants, I stand by that. I think that's proper. But I will give a caveat. Words have meanings. And some of the people that are here that you and I would brand an illegal immigrant actually aren't. Some of them are here seeking amnesty. Puts them in a slightly different category. Technically still illegal immigrants. But they are here legally awaiting amnesty. So, I mean, there's a little bit of wiggle room if you want to get into specificity on words. Words have meanings. But I agree with Rasmussen, which polled the United States, polled American people, that in some way, shape, or form, be it illegal alien or illegal immigrant, I think that is absolutely the stark reality that we face, and we should call it what it is, and it is illegal. I stand by that. 844-580-WDBO. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Let me know right now your thoughts, and we're going to get some more of your thoughts also on Ron DeSantis' really poor showing in yesterday's Florida primary elections. That'll be coming up next. Stay with us.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Stay connected with WDBO. Listen anytime, anywhere. Get the latest breaking news and share your thoughts using the open mic. Download the WDBO app powered by neuropathynomore.com. This is where Orlando turns first for breaking news, weather, and traffic. 107.3 FM and AM 580. Orlando's news and talk. WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Connected to our community. Talk local issues and events with Joe Kelley. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let Joe know what interests you. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
844-580-WDBO. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Check out the Joe Kelley Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts. If you get it in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. If you get it on your PC, if you get in the WDBO app anywhere, we certainly appreciate you giving it a follow, giving it a download. Let's go to Mineola. Cam is joining us. What's up, Cam? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks, Joe. Nomenclature is a big deal to me, and words have meanings. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the term illegal alien. First of all, the USCIS. Are you familiar with that government agency?
I'm sorry, spell it out for me.
USCIS.
No, I got that part. Stands for U.S., United States what?
Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Okay, go on.
So from their website, uscis.gov, their definition is any person not a citizen or national of the United States fits the term alien.
Right.
So if you're not here permanently, actually even if you are permanent, if you're not a resident or citizen, you are alien. That is a legal term.
You know, you're absolutely right. In federal code, it does refer to people here illegally as illegal aliens. I mean, that is the actual two words that is in federal code. Honestly, of the two words, the one I object to is alien. I would really rather them be called, immigrant or migrant or something, simply because with more and more information these days about UFOs, I think we should reserve the word alien for extraterrestrial.
But see, that's why you have extraterrestrial or space alien.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Thank you, Cam. I appreciate that. 844-580-WDBO. By the way, one of the hazards of leaving an open mic before I have finished the monologue.
Joe, I'm really surprised at you. You're talking about how words mean things. Yeah, illegal means illegal. It means illegal. And all of our brown-skinned friends, and I've got a lot of them too, they're just as offended by the people who aren't playing by the rules as anybody else. So stop trying to change the language, Joe. Come on, you know better than that. If they're illegal, they're breaking the law. And everybody with brown or white or purple skin should think so too. Come on.
So I appreciate that he circled back and left another open mic after he heard the rest of what I had to say.
Joe, forgive my last message. I was a little steamed because I turned the radio on and all I heard was that part. So I apologize. I think we're on the same page. I know that you want to call them illegal when they really are illegal. Nobody wants to damn the ones that are here legally and played by the rules. But people need to be civil and find out who really was here illegally and who was here legally. Because I love these guys.
I totally agree. And I love what you said. And we need to be civil. And there are some of us, and I say us, I'm not one of those. But there are some people who are not civil. There are some people who, if they hear someone speaking a foreign language, you guys know what I'm saying is true. There are people in our society that when they hear someone speaking a foreign language at Publix, at Wawa, at a ball game or whatever, a sports event, when they hear someone speaking a foreign language, people go apoplectic. And there are people who will butt in and say, hey, it's America, you need to be speaking English. You go back to your own home country. And I'm just not down for that. And I believe in civility. And
as a former retail worker,
yeah,
I can 100% tell you that happens way more often than is acceptable.
And you're making all kinds of assumptions in that scenario. I mean, I had a routine doctor's appointment today, and my doctor, if this is any indication, his last name is Hernandez, and he speaks fluent Spanish. The woman who brought me back to the room is from Spain, because the way she said my name, Kelley, it was just so cute. I'm like, oh my gosh, did you say Kelley? Are you calling my name? And in the lobby, there was an elderly woman who had a younger woman translating something in Spanish to her. Now, in each of those scenarios, I just smiled and thought, oh, what cute people they are. They know more languages than I do. How could I think any less of them? But there are people who would look at them and say, go back to your home country. Go back to your go home. And, and people would assume that they're illegal aliens. I did none of that. I mean, there's a time and a place, and I am neither the time nor the place. I leave that in the hands of law enforcement agencies. I am not CPB. I'm not Border Patrol. I'm not ICE. I'm not OPD. I'm not OSCO or Orange County, OCSO. Sorry. That's why they won't let me on the Orange County Sheriff's Office, because I can't spell Orange County Sheriff's Office. 844-580-WDBO. You can hit me up in the open mic and the WDBO app. By the way, I don't think we needed a survey to tell us this, but a new survey says Americans are unhappy. Oh, are we unhappy? Do you agree or disagree? And if so, why do you think Americans are so unhappy? 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. For 100 years, we've been your voice, your source, your heartbeat. From the roaring 20s to the digital age, we've been there for it all. Happy 100th anniversary, WDBO, where history and headlines meet.
All right, I don't know how you can qualify this as anything other than good news. This is good news. We have new news in from Elon Musk and his Neuralink operation. They have released video now of the first human Neuralink patient who is able to control, and what they're showing in the video is he is moving chess pieces on a laptop computer. So he's with his mind, he appears to be, and I believe the term is quadriplegic. He looks like he's paralyzed from the neck down. I think he steers his wheelchair with his mouth. So I think that makes him a quadriplegic. I'm a little ignorant on some of the terms there, but they're showing this laptop computer, and while he's talking, he's able to move chess pieces.
I think it just became intuitive for me to start imagining the cursor moving. Basically, it was like using the force on a cursor, and I could get it to move wherever I wanted, just stare somewhere in the screen and it would move where I wanted it to, which was such a wild thing.
That is fantastic. What a splendid use of that kind of technology. It is only a matter of time before otherwise healthy-bodied people take an interest in Neuralink implants so that they can use the force, Laurel. I know that would attract your attention because
sign me up.
Because if you can now follow me in this, if you can use your mind to move a mouse on a computer, then it's only a few steps away from using your mind to control the so-called IoT, Internet of Things, right? The Internet of Things are all these connected devices that we have. Your thermostat is connected, the lights at your house are connected. How many other things do you have connected? To your computer? It's the so-called Internet of Things. And imagine walking into your home and simply thinking, lights turn on. That would be kind of cool, right? Imagine thinking, Alexa, turn on WDBO. Imagine thinking, oven, preheat to 400 degrees.
No, I don't want people or things to know what I'm thinking. It scares the heck out of me.
Right. But is that not, can we not agree that that's the next step? Ostensibly it is for people who don't have use of their physical bodies. And in that sense, we can all get behind it and say, gosh, that's fantastic. That is a miracle. That's amazing. But we all know that that's not the end use of Neuralink. We all know that the human body is going to be the next IoT, the next Internet of Things. When you feel cold, you don't have to think it. You feel cold and the thermostat adjusts to accommodate you feeling cold. Suddenly you're thinking, man, I want to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and suddenly your TV turns on and it's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Or is that just me? I'm always like, I want to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But that is interesting. All right, so Gallup has a new 2024 World Happiness Report, and Americans are nowhere near the top of the list. We, Americans, are incredibly not happy. The U.S. ranks 23rd on the list, dropping out of the top 20 after ranking 15 last year. Much of the drop is due to Americans under the age of 30 feeling less satisfied with their lives. What is that generation again, under 30?
Z's.
Ratings are based upon factors like life expectancy, economy, social support, and freedom. The number one nation is Finland, followed by Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and Israel. Israel, who's under a constant state of war, and not just since October 6th, 7th. Israel has been under a constant state of war since its inception. Israel has been in a constant state of war since the Bible. But it's the Icelandic nations, Denmark, Finland, Denmark, Iceland, and Sweden. Are they not socialist countries? But they're also tiny. They're tiny little countries. How can you not be happy in a tiny little country? America is a vast country. But it begs the question, what are you unhappy about? And I will tell you that I wholeheartedly agree with this polling results. Just as someone who works in radio and has talked to listeners for the past couple decades, I can tell Americans are unhappy. Americans are unhappy. It's obvious that Americans are unhappy. Now, there's going to be the usual suspects. There's Kaiser Sose. There's the other guy. People are going to say, oh, it's Joe Biden. Oh, it's Donald Trump. Oh, it's Barack Obama. And yeah, I'm sure that plays into it. I mean, I know a lot of people, have their identities wrapped up in political ideologies and political candidates. But man, our economy is in the toilet. Our job market is in the toilet. I don't care what the statistics say. I don't even believe the jobs numbers. I don't even believe the economic numbers that the government reports. They spin everything. But why do you think Americans are unhappy? 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app. And what would make you happy? I will tell you that I was a lot and hang on. Religion alert. I'll make it brief. I was a lot unhappier until I became a follower of Jesus Christ. Life became harder, yet much less stressful as a follower of Jesus Christ. Because I don't have to worry about things that I used to worry about, because there's only one thing that's on my mind. There's only one thing that's on my mind. At the end of the day, there's one single thing that is on my mind, and that is hearing the words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." That's it. Nothing else matters. Jobs don't matter. Clothing doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. Property doesn't matter. Cars don't matter. Mo money, mo problems. Biggie Smalls and Jesus Christ. I'm right there, man. Those are the people that I believe in. Mo money, mo problems. All right. So what is it you're unhappy about? 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Insightful.
You tell the truth from your point of view.
Entertaining.
Man, that guy is a lot taller than he sounds on the radio.
And engaging.
When we hear you on the radio, it's a good thing.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
All right, so we're talking about the Neuralink, the Elon Musk brain implant that basically makes your brain a computer-compatible device. I was just thinking about how far this could go. I always like to take things to their extremes to see how far this could go. I mentioned that just yesterday. And I could see a scenario under which, say, for example, Paul Cross, you and I both got Neuralink, okay? You and I could be interconnected. You and I could set up a connection where I could communicate to you neurally, through a computer, or I could think a thought and it shows up in your head. And then I'm thinking about I'm thinking, gosh, Vegas casinos, man. You could have one person sitting on one side of a blackjack table and another person sitting, playing blackjack. And the security details at casinos, they know how to look for card counters and cheats. But how would you ever find out that someone has a Neuralink and they are literally sending them through Wi-Fi signals, the dealer's holding, 2 8s or whatever, or, the guy at position 5 is holding an 11 or whatever.
With every invention, the first thing that comes to mind is how can this be used against the system?
How can it be exploited?
How can it be exploited?
And there's no way that Elon Musk is thinking, I'm going to make all my money on this on quadriplegics. I mean, I know that there are regrettably plenty of quadriplegics in America and around the world that could benefit from this kind of a device. But that's not where Elon Musk is going to stop. He has stated as much.
Well, because that is a very noble service, but it's not where the money is.
No. No, it is not. And mass sales and mass distribution. And for all of us who are horrified at the thought of a neural implant, there are probably just as many, maybe a smaller minority, of people who are like, I can't wait to get a neural implant. I can't wait for that to happen. And let's be honest, there is an element of that that'll be kind of cool.
I could move so many faders at the same time.
Yes,
This would be
absolutely.
great.
You just think about it, Greg. Just think. Okay, you got a call on line 1. Yeah, I know. I've already put him there in my mind.
That's the thing. I got to think about it, though.
Right.
Well, eventually we're going to have chips in our arm where we don't need a credit card or anything. We just kind of wave it over something and boom, we've charged everything, just having it in our arm. IDs, whatever.
I mean, this is going to be in our lifetimes. Not for all of you guys, because I know some of you guys are going to die pretty young. But
you're living to be 100, Joe.
I'm going to be 100.
A lot more.
So I think this is going to happen in my lifetime. We're going to see healthy people get neural implants, and be able to have access to the IoT, the Internet of Things.
I would go full Sorcerer Mickey on everybody and just have brooms all over the place. And
yes. You can control is it a Zumba? What is the robot?
Ah, yes, the Roombas.
The Roomba. Zumba's a radio station.
An army of Roombas controlled by my mind.
Yes, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
I mean, you could
or terrifying.
So we were talking about the running humanoid robot earlier that can run a marathon in 2 hours and 45 minutes or 3 hours, whatever it is. I mean, you could control if you had a humanoid helper, a monkey butler, if you will. You had a humanoid robot helper. You wouldn't even have to talk to it. You could just think, "Oh man, would you go take the garbage out?" And it takes the garbage out. I mean, who?
Gosh, I wish I had a grilled cheese sandwich right about now. Boom.
Right. Here's a grilled cheese sandwich. Absolutely so. Thank you so much for being a part of the Joe Kelley Show. Look for the Joe Kelley Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And we leave you with a death. That's not the way we want to leave you, but Emmett Walsh, the character actor, is dead at the age of 88. You probably saw him in Blade Runner, Blood Simple, and others. He's been in hundreds of films and TV series. He's one of those actors you're like, oh, I know that guy, but you don't know his name. His name is Emmett Walsh, and he's dead at the age of 88. Good night, everybody.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.